This is an exclusive story, and it's an unbelievable one. I didn't believe it when I first read it. We have helped uncover Russian cheats at the UCI World Qualifiers. Producer Emily, this is a story you've been investigating this week. Do you want to talk us through what happened?
Yes, I do. So basically, this happened at a UCI race in Turkey earlier this month. It was a 100-kilometre UCI Gran Fondo World Series event, and it's a qualifier for the World Championships, which is in Denmark next August. So our friend, Louise Vardman, she's an amazingly strong cyclist. She was at this race competing in the women's 45 to 49 age category. And basically, during this race, Louise saw a Russian rider in her category, a lady called Maria, being drafted around the course by a teammate who was not registered to be in that race. Maria won the race and Louise came fourth. Only the top 3 qualify for world champs, meaning Lou just missed out on a spot.
So I'm assuming that this was like an open road race.
It was correct, yes.
Right. So, well, I guess no road race has barriers all the way around anyway, does it?
No, exactly. So both the cheating riders were wearing jerseys from Team Impulse, which is a Russian team. So basically, typically in these races, you race under your country. So Lou was racing for Team GB. However, Russia as a country is banned from competing. So they are only allowed to compete if they do so under a different name.
What are they doing wearing jerseys of their actual... Surely you'd turn up in like a camouflage skin suit.
I mean, maybe they thought that would blend in more if it looked like they were a rider. I'm not sure.
Why would they wear camouflage skin suit?
Well, you'd be invisible, wouldn't you?
So not camouflage pattern, as in like an invisible cloak, invisibility cloak.
Ideally, but they don't exist. So next best thing is that, isn't it?
So Louise wasn't the only person that this happened to. In one of the other road races, so basically it was a mass start, but there was lots of different categories. And in one of the other categories, another rider, also from Team Impulse, was being drafted by a guy on a TT bike.
That is class.
They were subsequently disqualified because it was quite obvious this guy was on a TT bike.
Wait, where was Lou on this? Was she in the pace line behind them? Was Lou cheating as well, technically?
No. So she has GoPro footage of all of this, and ultimately they came past her drafting and then went away up the road.
This is where they burn it past me. As you can see, the rider in front, who's leading the winner of my category, has no race numbers on at all and is wearing the same team kit, which you can see on the front of her jersey.
And Lou said it was really tough conditions on the day as well. It was like 45 mile per hour gusts. So obviously having a draft is a significant advantage. But thankfully Lou had her GoPro on the front of her bike and she actually captured a lot of what was going on. So she caught the pair coming past her. There was also official race photos which literally just showed them drafting together. She also captured the moment that the unregistered riders came onto the course. So it was kind of like a slip road.
Towards the right of the screen, there's a rider in white dropping back and braking to get into position for the rider that's hopping on the course. Here's a still of her looking right and moving across the road. This is the point where we go past the riders who are at the right of the road looking to hop on to assist their fellow riders. I'll zoom in now so you can see one of them there. They're all wearing the same kit, pink or white Team Impulse gear.
After the race also, the winner, Maria, posted on Instagram talking about the race, and in that post she admitted, my task was to sit on the wheel and not fall off, and at the end of the post she tagged the unregistered teammate and said thank you for everything.
This is outrageous.
They have not been subtle about this
well,
at
that's
all.
it's not being subtle, it's just not understanding the rules, surely.
I mean, I think
a TT bike?
Well, yeah, but they must have thought... But you wouldn't post about it if you were trying to get away with it. They honestly thought it was fine.
No, I think you just have to have evidence. Like, what's the chance people have evidence? But obviously Lou is a YouTuber, so she was recording the entire thing for her YouTube. So here is what Louise had to say when I spoke to her about it.
So it was a mass start, which is always pretty chaotic. They seeded the women at the front because it was a mixed race, men and women. But it was meant to be a neutral start for the first 1.6K. So we rolled out behind a car and motorbikes, but literally as soon as we went over the start line, all the men from behind just zoomed straight in. So it was just a huge bunch following the car. So it was just pretty dangerous, pretty chaotic that first, 1.5K of people trying to battle for position behind the car. So just lots of screaming, shouting, slamming on brakes, all that kind of stuff. So you're really not really looking around apart from concentrating on not crashing into the person in front of you. Probably about just less than 5K in, I noticed one of my fellow competitors overtaking me. It's really obvious who your competitors are because you had to have numbers on your back. You actually had 2 numbers on your back. They're massive. So I had to have both of those across my back, and the colour signifies what category you're in. So when the girl with the big blue numbers on her back overtook me, I was like, oh no, that's part of, my race. I'm racing against her. I thought it was strange the way she chased after someone, and something lodged in my head that something was weird about what happened, but I didn't really know what. But they literally flew past me and off they went.
So what was the point that you actually became suspicious and looked back for this footage to see if you'd captured anything?
It was when other people started saying about unregistered riders on the route and a guy on a TT bike and all. It just sounded so crazy that I just thought, oh, that sounds weird. And I remembered something seeming odd about the women that overtook me. So that's when I just started looking back at all the footage. And then since all the race photos have come out and other people have uploaded footage online as well, there's a whole load of images and videos showing the woman who won my category drafting behind an unregistered rider. I've just found it so frustrating at a time when women's cycling is really starting to get bigger and better, and we're doing such great things that stuff like this just completely undermines women racing fairly. And I don't want to bring another woman down, but cheating is cheating at any level. And this is amateur, but it matters.
So Louise had all of this footage and evidence. She submitted it to the race organisers and was then left waiting for a decision about whether the lady who won her category was going to be disqualified or not. Mm-hmm. The other rider and the TT bike guy were already disqualified, but Louise's case dragged on and it was coming up to 5 days when we had this conversation. So after we spoke, I sent an email to the UCI race organisers introducing myself as a journalist from Cade Media and saying that we were going to cover the story and outlining the allegations we'd received. The next morning, we got word of a decision, and it was decided that Maria was going to be disqualified, which put Lou into 3rd place, which means she now qualifies for World Championships next year.
Yeah. Oh, the motive, I see.
So the race organisers confirmed 2 other riders, also from Team Impulse, had also been disqualified for cheating. So I caught up with Louise again yesterday after the decision came in, and here's what she said.
I'm delighted. I love competing in big proper races and wearing, my GB skin suit. It's just nuts. It's so cool. And I worked really, really hard for this after coming back from such a massive injury a year ago. And all summer, we've had a huge summer of travelling, but throughout it, I really wanted to keep my fitness, so I made a lot of sacrifices. So the fact that it's actually all worked out and I have qualified is really, really great. I'm very happy.
So our plan was, after I spoke to you, is that we were going to send them a message. I was going to send them a message as a journalist from Cade Media, and then the next morning we had an official statement that they were going to ban the woman, didn't we? So do you think that helped swing it?
I think it helped a bit. I think mainly because they thought you were the BBC. They emailed me, and I hadn't spoken to anyone else about it, so I know it has to be from what they thought from your message. But yeah, they said that a British broadcasting company, and then BBC in brackets, had contacted them about the investigation. They were, of course, looking into all of the allegations, and they were promoting fair racing, and cheaters would be disqualified, and blah, blah, blah. So I think, yes, that possibly helped quite a bit that you got involved too. So thank you.
I definitely didn't say we were from the BBC at all.
You didn't have to.
No. In the end, they sent me a statement that said 3 riders had been disqualified in total, and all 3 of these riders were from the same team. So there was clearly some sort of systematic cheating going on across a number of races, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was, and there was quite a few people online who'd been affected by these team members too, either by the dangerous riding from the non-registered riders in the race, and other people had submitted footage and evidence and claims as well. So I think all that just became too much for them to ignore, and thankfully they have done the right thing. But it is a concern about what's going on out there at all these different races, and this one just needed to be held in a high regard because it is a UCI race and they have to be seen to be doing the right thing, because I suppose otherwise they would lose that the ability to call it a UCI race. So, yeah.
I just want to clarify, I did not say we were from the BBC, but the race organisers, they're based in Turkey. I don't know whether there was a language barrier, but they thought that I was the BBC investigating them. But yeah, I think that perhaps just telling them that we're listening in, we care what's happening here, maybe helped swing it. Because I think in the other cases, there was lots of evidence and lots of people shouting about it, whereas in Lou's case, it was only her that had managed to capture stuff, as well as the official race photographs. So yeah, crazy.
So basically, Russian team Impulse must hate our guts.
Yeah, me and Lou are going into hiding after this podcast finishes.
Okay.
Well, they hate the BBC.
Yes, if Team Impulse are watching, it was the BBC and not Cade Media.
I see your point that perhaps they didn't understand the rules. However, have you entered a race ever where you've been like, oh, well, it'll definitely be in the rules for my mate to meet me halfway around the course and give me a draft?
No.
You would. I just don't see how you could ever think that that's within the rules.
But they seem to post the post sort of.
Well, they just thought it was going to be fine. I can only assume.
Weird, because people don't think there's as many rules around a Gran Fondo champs.
Perhaps.
I think you're being very fair to them there. So in the post, she didn't. I think that if you hadn't been in the race and seen what was going on, you could assume that what she said, my job was to sit in the wheel and not fall off. So that you could assume that it was to pick another rider who was registered and sit in their wheel.
Yeah.
And then she thanks the person later. She might be thanking her for giving her a pep talk or something. So I think without all of the context of that evidence, I think if you'd just seen that Instagram post, you might not assume what she was referring to, you know?
I've actually been in an event where something similar to this has happened and there was controversy about it. And the event was the Coronation Double Century in South Africa. So it's 200 kilometers long and you have mixed teams. You've got men's teams, women's teams and mixed teams. And the mixed teams have their own competition. And we were in a mixed team. So I think it was 2 girls, 2 guys, maybe 3 guys. And fully within the rules, as long as you're using your own team, you get to the end as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a couple of sections which the time doesn't count and there's like a pit stop thing because it gets so hot out there. However, you're allowed to like push each other. So up the climbs, we were like helping some of the riders get up the climbs quicker and you're all pushing each other and doing all this crazy stuff. And it was absolutely bonkers and people were all over the road. However, the team that beat us, which I was like, well, it's fair game. There's loads of people on the road. You're just doing whatever. They're still in the race. They were drafting a men's team who was there to specifically help them win and beat us. And I was like, I didn't mind. However, there were lots of people very upset about that because it was a separate competition despite being in the same event. So there's all sorts of weird stuff like that.
But the difference here is the people that
I'm not in the event at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It is different.
I have actually seen one of Lou's clips and it very clearly shows someone waiting on the side of the road and then like as the rider's coming through, they then jump in and then pull in front of them. Like, you've got to know that's cheating.
Pretty outrageous.
Louise also, we mentioned a couple of times, has a YouTube channel where she vlogs and she's also done a piece talking about what happened. So you can check her out, Louise Vardeman, Vardeman. LouTube, that's what she calls it. And we also contacted the race organisers for comment and they said 3 cyclists were disqualified for violating race rules. The results list has been updated and the prizes will be sent to the winning athletes according to the changed rankings. Our organisation has adopted and implemented the principles of fair racing.
Good luck, Lou.
Good luck, Lou.